What's up, chums? Sharky here, and welcome back to the Shark Bites podcast.
Hello.
I have so much small talk I want to make.
Go for it.
So, this week has been pretty busy and overwhelming for me at work. I've been learning a lot of new stuff because they're trying to get me trained like as soon as possible, like fully trained. And
Oh, wow.
I feel like I need pacing. Like, I can't all do it in 1 week, you know? So I'm gonna talk to my bosses probably like tomorrow or next week about like changing the schedule a little bit because they are putting on way too much for me.
It's like, here's everything you need to know in about 4 months. You need to learn it by tomorrow.
Well, what happened was we had a supervisor leave, so like we're kind of short-handed at the moment, but like he had me going at like a steady pace with the training, and now that he's gone, they're kind of like, "Hey, we need help." So like luckily they're gonna hire some more new people, so I won't be the only one learning all this stuff, but it's just kind of been crazy the last 2 weeks or so.
Uh,
It's also because it's like the end of the month and we get really busy near like the end of each month. Um, but I've been having this issue with a coworker lately it pisses me off so much.
what's going on?
Do you ever like meet people that like talk about you to other people and you can hear them?
All the time.
Okay, so
Had
she's
that
been
happen today at the boba shop.
what?
I had that happen today at the boba shop.
Well, she's been like instead of coming to me directly with my mistakes, like, to so I can fix them, she's just been complaining about my mistakes to other people in the office, and it's really annoying. But I
Yeah,
know
I can't stand people like that.
me neither. Like she's such a drama hub and it just really bugs me. But like I love how she thinks I can't hear her when I'm literally sitting like right there. I'm like, just say it to my face so I can fix it. Like why are you being all sneaky and like whispering to people?
If you're gonna be a bitch to my face.
Exactly.
Don't
And
be a coward.
it's been getting under my skin lately, and all of my coworkers, like all of my other coworkers, I've told them about it, like how I feel about it, and they said don't worry, like she's just bitchy, like don't worry about it. Like
Well,
you're
at
not.
least she's probably bitchy to most of them then.
Yeah, she said like that she's always given other people a hard time too. It's not just me, and that they're all used to it because they've been working there for like 6 years.
Well, at least it ain't just you.
Yeah, I've kind of made a friend at work that sits next to me, and he's always like, "I'm rooting for you. Like, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal." And that made me feel better. But it's been such a mixed week cuz there's been so much like stress and negativity, but at the same time there's like positive things happening, especially today. So
Oh,
like let's see. This morning I found out that I'm getting a raise.
nice.
It's like it's a good chunk. I mean, it's $4 more than what I'm already making per hour.
Jealous.
A raise is always good. Um and then Juimi told me that he gets 2 weeks off in August, so he's probably going to be able to come visit me.
Be nice.
And then the last positive thing is my company does like a charity donation, and they ask employees like to nominate certain charities like to see who gets the donation.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of just threw my hat in the ring and I nominated Asan, which is the Autistic Self Advocacy Network,
Mm-hmm.
and they won. They
Nice.
they won the donation, and it's a lot of money. It's like 15 grand.
Hmm.
So they could really use that. So that's like all the positive things, but I've just been so stressed out I can't even enjoy the positive things.
Well, at least there's some positive going on.
Yeah.
Don't let the stress bother you.
I'm just trying to chill and not worry about everything so much. But that, and like I've also been stressed out cuz my family stuff, like my sister, the one with the crazy husband, or well,
Hmm.
boyfriend, they're not even married, boyfriend that had the wedding canceled. Um she's here right now, like
Hmm.
with the kids, and we're trying to figure out how she can stay here and not have to go back to Illinois. And it's just
Fun.
it's all very complicated and very stressful. But I'm happy for her. Like I feel like it'll be a good decision.
Yeah.
But enough about me. Let's talk about you.
I have to do this every episode. My 3D printer is working again.
Yay! I love my pencil holder. It's awesome.
I love how it came out. I was worried that the teeth were gonna just basically be filament spaghetti.
Or nubs.
And I was worried they would break off in shipping.
No, they it did fine. They turned out perfect. I,
A
I was worried that stuff was gonna melt in the mailbox because it was like 100 degrees yesterday, and I went out there in the evening to get it, and I was just
This
hoping.
filament melts at it goes from that hard plastic
Hmm.
to where it's like kind of a liquid when it's printing at about 215 Celsius.
What's that in
So
Fahrenheit?
I'm American. How am I supposed to know? I'm looking it up.
I'm like, that's, oh, that doesn't sound bad, but it's in Celsius. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm getting it. Let's see. Dun, dun,
The
dun.
perler was fine too. That didn't really hurt it either.
I wasn't too worried. I figured if anything broke on that, you could just iron it and fix it.
Yeah.
That is 419 degrees Fahrenheit, roughly.
Oh, okay. So yeah, we're good.
I have burnt my hand on that nozzle.
Dang.
Guess what? I still do the dumb shit that caused my hand to get burnt. Can't, can't fix stupid.
Well, I'm glad that it's working again.
Yes, I was going crazy not being able to print, as you can only imagine.
Yes. What else have you been up to?
Uh, we got about $500 worth of fireworks to set off.
Oh, dang. In your backyard?
No, at my parents' house, because
Okay,
they
I
have
was
that
about to
giant
say.
parking lot. No, I don't want to burn my house down.
But your parents' house, that's fine.
Exactly. Nah. Uh, the people living in that stupid little apartment by my garage,
Hmm.
they just up and left. Their grass was like almost as tall as me.
That's good though, right? You don't like them anyway.
Here's the thing though. They went back there and cut all that grass and they're about to start cleaning up the apartment. We now have at least one mouse in our house because of it.
Aw, dang.
Because when you clear out a trashy home or
Hmm.
when grass gets too high, they're going to run to the next closest source.
They hoarders?
Probably. They had like paper covering the window.
That's weird.
They were drug dealers.
Oh, dang. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, at least they're gone
For now.
for now.
Who knows what I'll get next.
I
Keep you
actually
updated on that.
I actually forgot that it was the 4th of July this weekend.
I
Like
mean, I just love fireworks.
I've been so busy that I've just totally glossed over that I'm off Monday for the 4th. I mean, I'm glad, but I was like, wait, what? It's already the end of June? Like, what?
I know. I feel that.
I feel like it was just my birthday, like a week ago.
I know time flies way too much.
It does. But it seems to go slower when I'm at work. Of
Well, of course. Luckily,
course.
my work is just taking care of my grandpa.
Yeah, I gotta handle paper all day.
Gross.
Hey, I mean, it's worth the money though. I
You
mean,
have, but you have the hazard of getting paper cuts.
I do, yeah. I've actually used like 2 band-aids this week.
See?
Yeah.
Occupational hazard right there.
I would like compensation.
You see this? My finger here? What you did to my pinky? I need like 300 for that. Pain and suffering.
The emotional damage.
Oh shit, yeah. Emotional damage. Gotta throw in an extra 50 for that.
That costs extra. I haven't really been up to much else. Um, I guess we should get into our topic. I forgot we had one.
Oh
Um,
yeah, that's the thing that we do.
today's topic is I wasn't sure how to title it, so I just called it shitty pet keeping.
So every pet
Specifically
store around me.
specifically birds and fish cuz that's what we are experts in. So,
No shit, you're calling me an expert.
well, I'm well, I mean, okay, we know more than the average person about these animals.
More than the person who goes in the store and goes, look, a parakeet, and buys the world's smallest cage for it.
Yeah. We have some credit. Maybe not experts, but
We at least did our fucking research.
we've had things live in our care, if that means anything.
I don't know, I guess it depends on who you talk to on that one.
I get
So,
I
who's
guess
gonna go first?
well, usually I always let the guest go first, which is you, but I feel like I've been letting you go first like every single time the last couple podcasts, so
And go
I
first.
can go first. Um well, I told you about the r slash shitty aquariums that I follow.
Uh huh.
Um yeah, I don't even know where to begin on that. Um when I was young, as I'm sure a lot of people have this similar story, I had a betta fish in a bowl, and before that, I had a goldfish in a bowl. So I was one of those people who, bought a bowl. But I've learned so much
How
since
young
then.
were you?
I don't even know. Probably like, well, when I had the goldfish, I was like 7, and then
Well,
when I
that gets passed because our parents' generation really didn't know anything on pet keeping.
when I had the beta, I was like 13, but I still didn't understand anything about that. But I got my first like actual aquarium, like a tank, when I was in high school, I think, or had just graduated high school. So I think I was like starting college at the time, and I got this lady that was my teacher at the high school. She actually gave me like a 30-gallon tank.
Nice.
and I made it into a freshwater tank, and I lost a lot of fish because I didn't know what I was doing. Like, I was learning how to fish keep. And for anybody listening, fish keeping is a lot more than just putting a fish in water. Like, there are so many intricacies to fish keeping.
What? It's more than just buying some pretty decorations and gravel and slapping some water and fish into a container?
I could talk about this for 3 hours, but I'll try to condense it down. um, just if you're thinking about buying a fish, like, as always, do your research. Um, but also don't always listen to what the pet store tells you because they will lie to you. Like, I have
Just to
evidence.
make any sell.
Yes. Yeah, it literally is. I actually have firsthand experience of someone lying to me at a pet store, like, about an animal that I was interested in. Well, it was a fish, but like, so I guess I should tell it cuz that would be good for context, I guess. But
Go for it.
so my friend wanted a betta fish, and she went with me to a fish store that also had some other pet stuff, but it was like mostly fish. And she said that she wanted, we were like testing them, like, to see what they would say. And she said, I want two betta fish and I want to keep them in the same tank. And the guy literally said, "Oh yeah, we have some over here. You can totally have them in the same tank." And I was like,
Oh,
"What?" Like,
oh my gosh.
if you don't know, they will kill each other. If you have two male
Yeah,
betas in the same tank, they will kill each other.
yeah. Even I know that. I
I
don't know
know.
much on fish.
I thought that was like basic knowledge, but this dude straight up lied just to sell more fish. I was like,
And
dude.
it's usually how it is for most male animals or female. Like, depending on the species of animal, usually you can't put two of the same gender together.
That wasn't the only thing either. Like, I asked a question about a heater and he gave me an answer that I knew was wrong. um it's, you got to be careful with pet stores. Not just fish, but like any pet you get from a pet store, cuz they're out to sell you stuff. So they're going to tell you whatever they need to tell you for you to buy more stuff. So your best bet is to just like do as much research online as you can and like watch YouTube videos. That helps a lot. Um
Cross-reference everything.
yes, like look for
Don't just
sourcing,
don't just trust the first two sources you find and be like, "That's good."
or like the fact sheets at the pet store that they have. Like, that's not
Sometimes,
all there
depending on the
is.
pet store, it can give you a good starting place, but usually it's giving you the bare minimum,
Yeah.
and it ain't enough.
Or it's just vague. It's not all that there is to it. Um in fish keeping specifically, unfortunately, things dying and things going wrong is just part of the hobby. Like, as much as we try to avoid fish dying, I, even myself, like, as much experience as I do have, I have had a lot of things die. Um and it's a learning experience. Like, you try to figure out, okay, what did I do wrong? How do I prevent this in the future? That kind of thing. But what I was gonna say is, when I had my freshwater tank, I was putting the wrong kind of water in the tank. So, like, you might be thinking, well, water's just water, isn't it? Like, water's
No.
water. No, it's not. There's so many chemical components to water, more than what I ever thought was possible. When I first filled my 30-gallon, I filled it with tap water because I'm a dumbass.
Oh, no.
And luckily, I didn't put any fish in it yet. And I had just put they have this stuff called Quick Start that's like it claims to instantly make your tank ready for fish. It's a lie. Don't ever buy that stuff. You need to let things naturally develop. You can't rush an aquarium. I don't care what anybody says, don't rush anything. Take your time cuz it's going to save you money and it's going to save you from things dying a little bit more than, rushing it. But I
Which
put this what?
sadly sometimes, because I remember you had done everything right with one of your newer tanks, and you sadly still had fish pass,
And I will get
right?
into that. Yes, that is correct. I will get into that when I talk about the saltwater stuff.
Sorry, I'm just interrupting.
No, no, it's okay. No, I'm glad that you brought that up because that is something that I experienced and I'm still kind of confused about. But so I filled it with tap water. I put this quick start stuff that the pet store told me would instantly cycle it, and it didn't. So I dumped all of the tap water out. It wasn't testing correctly. Because I had like a that's the thing they don't really tell you about. Like you have to chemically test your tank. They have test kits that you like put some water in a tube and you put some chemical in there and you shake it up and you have to see if the color matches and all that. So it wasn't matching up to what I needed it to be, so I dumped all of the tap water out and I filled it with spring water. Well, little did I know that spring water, I know it sounds natural because it's like from a spring, but they still add things to it for humans to drink. So it had like trace elements in it that I think was contributing to like bad stuff building up in the tank basically, and I didn't know that. And I had a goldfish, which is another mistake. Like I said, I could talk about this for hours. But you should never put a goldfish like in a aquarium that's smaller than like 50 gallons just because they get huge. Like they're meant for ponds. Like, ponds are big, like,
Hmm.
feet across, like they're ginormous. And they're really meant for that because they eat a lot, they poop a lot, and they get huge. And you really shouldn't put them in like bowls or tanks smaller than, yeah, I would say like 50 gallons. But so I had one of those, and then I had neon tetras. I bought 3 of them. They all died the next day because of the water issue. Um and then I think I also had guppies, which those lasted a little longer, but they also died. Um and I think it was mostly a water thing. Like just the kind of water that I was using was not um what they needed. I've I'm still not an expert on fresh water. To me, salt water is easier, and I'll get into that in a second, but for fresh water, if you're going to use store-bought water, you really have to know which one to get cuz they're not all the same. A lot of them have added stuff that's for humans. But what I currently use with my saltwater tank is distilled water, which has nothing in it. Like it's water that's stripped of like every like nutrient or mineral. There's nothing in it. It's just like
Naked water.
it's naked water. They actually use it for babies, like baby formula. That's the kind that I buy because I don't want anything in there that's gonna like hurt the fish.
Because they're your babies.
Yes, and I try so very hard to keep them all alive. But a lot of people have asked me, is saltwater harder than freshwater? And my honest answer after doing both is no. It's not harder, it's just more expensive because the equipment that they make to support a saltwater tank it's just expensive. Like you're trying to keep a mini ocean in your living room. Like it's of course it's going to be expensive. So I think it's easier personally just because they have already mixed salt water that you can just buy that's for aquarium fish only, and it's designed for that, and they have it at like Petco and stuff, which I don't really like Petco, but I do buy their water cuz it's easy. Um
Yeah, I've got my own gripes with Petco.
yeah, we get that's a whole nother thing that we could get into, but um for salt water, a lot of it is just making sure that your salt levels are where they need to be, and you can always like they sell aquarium salt that is not, it's not like table salt like you season your fries with. It's like sea salt that's like specifically for tanks, and you would add that if you needed, more salinity, or if you needed less, you would add distilled water that has nothing in it. That's what I do. Um, and then, of course, anytime you're setting up a tank, you need a filter, you need a heater, you need, some kind of circulation, whether it be like a bubble jet thing, or like I think they call it an air stone. Or I have like a flow pump that basically just keeps the water moving, because you don't want the water to like sit, because then it just gets nasty. Um, don't put your tank next to a window because it will grow algae like crazy, and then you'll be trying to figure out why. Um, those are just like some little tips, I guess. But do your research, and it doesn't matter like what kind of fish you want, like always do your research, because every fish is different. They all have different needs, they all have different um like
Aquarium sizes.
aquarium sizes. That is very good point. I've seen so many people try to put these big ass fish into these tiny ass tanks, and I'm like, no. That's abuse. But it's not just that either. Like some fish like water that is like harder or softer, or has certain chemicals in it, like, magnesium, and there's so many things. They have dietary restrictions, so like some fish need to eat certain things. They can't just eat pellets or flakes. They have to have like live food. None of my stuff needs live food, but that is something that you have to keep in mind when you're fish shopping, because some of them eat like live shrimp and uh worms too.
So if
Try
you're fish shopping, I guess you could say in a way you're fishing.
fishing. Yeah. I'm trying to think of like some other mistakes that I've seen people make with salt water. Um, don't buy a clownfish or a blue tang if you can't take care of it. Don't just buy it because it's from Nemo and you want it. Like, actually do your research on it.
Because, shocker, fish are living beings.
They,
Not
I,
the
I heard
little
this,
cute.
I heard this story once. I'm in shock still over it.
Oh,
This
this will be
lady,
good.
this lady came in and asked the pet store if she could buy a clownfish for her freshwater tank. And thankfully they told her no. But
Wait, there
she's,
was a pet store employee that actually knew stuff?
yes, I think it wasn't like a Petco, it was like an actual like mom and pop shop.
Well, anything that's not Petco is a step up.
I know. I know, but I was
Is
like,
this just the episode where we shit on Petco?
I mean, we could. Let me finish this thought real quick. But so this lady, like, she had a freshwater tank set up, and she was like, "Can I have like the Nemo fish? Because my son would love that." And the pet store, thankfully, was like, no, ma'am, that's a saltwater fish." And so that's just like one example of like how little people know about fish in general.
God.
But if you think like you don't need a filter and you don't need all the equipment, you're wrong. Like your fish are not going to live that long if you don't have what they need. I mean, that's pretty common sense, but here we are. Last thing I'm going to say, don't buy those stupid novelty aquariums that you see on like Alibaba and like Shein and stuff. Don't buy those. They're like from China and they're like little plastic. They're not even a tank. It's just like a novelty thing or like a desk. It's like a desk caddy thing, but it looks like an aquarium. Don't put fish in that. Like they're gonna die.
Don't buy it for actual fish use.
Yeah, like people if you're gonna buy one, just put like fake fish in it. Don't put real fish. I think I'm done for now. You can go ahead if you're ready.
Okay. So I'll be honest, I didn't have a huge amount of knowledge on birds when I got my parakeet, but I did know quite a bit of the do's and don'ts. So my first one was Alice, which, they're just, a budgie.
Hmm.
So a lot of people keep them in really small cages or round cages because, oh, it's a little bird. It don't need much movement. No. You need room. You need to think if you have a cage for a bird, you have to think that there should be at least 3 birds in there. Even if there's only one, you need to think if there were space for 3.
Hmm.
And that doesn't mean just how wide it is. It has to be like width, height, all that. You have to have plenty of room, daily supply of fresh water. Like, because birds, they will shit in their water. Birds are very smart, but they're very stupid at the same time. I mean, just the other day, my cockatiel took a massive morning poop, which that is something we will get into his water.
Jeez.
Yeah, you want the grossest smell? Wake up, go into a room right when a bird takes a morning poop. So, and you need to clean their cages, which I gotta clean my birds' cages once my husband wakes up later. But, and you shouldn't give them this vet recommended or this or that. All those suck. Yes, you can supply some of this stuff in those for birds, but birds don't really have taste. Like they have minimal taste, at least from what I know with my birds.
Hmm.
So they eat based off of color and stuff, and they learn, oh, yeah, I like this. So they're not getting everything. So I give mine a pellet, but then I give them a thing of like treats and extra stuff on the side. That way they're still getting that where they get to like forage for some food through it because I know they ain't eating everything.
Yeah.
My parakeet Zelda likes to throw her food onto the bottom of her cage and then yell at me. Oh, that bird has a vendetta against me, and if she could get out of her cage, she'd kill me. Don't know why. She just don't like me.
I don't trust birds.
But that happens with birds. Even if you gain their trust and they do fully trust you, they they will still attack you.
They'll stab you in the butt.
So one of the things, which this sounds strange, if you're when you're gaining your bird's trust, which that's something you have to do. People think, oh, keep it locked up in a cage. Oh, look at it. It'll sing. It'll be pretty. It'll talk. None of my birds talk.
Mm,
They don't sing. They scream.
I can confirm this.
Yes. And I know it drives you crazy.
Yeah.
But and then so many people they get tired of, because usually it's like, oh, a parakeet, they're cheap, it's like the goldfish of
Mhm.
birds.
Yep.
So then they stick it, which round cages are bad because birds don't have a corner for safety to feel safe and secure to get in. And the way that they're not big enough either.
That reminds me, a fish keeping rule. If you have a tank that has nothing in it, like nothing for the fish to like hide behind or hide under, that stresses out the fish too, 'cause like they have to have some kind of protection from like light. Sometimes they don't like it when light's really bright, or if you have a lot of like kids or like pets around the tank, they don't like to feel unsafe.
I mean,
Um
would you want to be constantly stared at by some weird creature?
I've literally seen people set up a tank and not have like any gravel, any decorations. It's literally just a fish in a box. And to
And that's another
me,
thing with
that's just
oh, sorry.
horrible. Cuz you're just
That's another thing with birds though. Sorry, were
no,
you
go
done
ahead.
or
No, I'm done. Go ahead.
they have to have plenty of toys. They have to have a variety of toys, and the types of toys also varies from bird to bird. So you get something like an African gray, a macaw, a cockatoo. You gotta have stuff where they're like almost working a puzzle
Mhm.
because they have like a toddler brain. Yeah, your bird's still gonna be dumb as shit, but it's also very smart.
Dumb
My
but
favorite
smart,
fact is
yes.
I'm like a toddler. To- let's face it, toddlers know how to get what they want. They are smart in certain aspects of problem solving, but also they run into just those sliding doors very easily.
Yeah.
You know? They're dumb as shit. And if birds are being just kept cooped up, they're not getting any type of enrichment, they will self mutilate.
Mm.
And it can get to the point to where it kills them or they'll never fly again. And these are behaviors like people from abuse, They pick up these habits
Actually,
that
fish kind of do something similar. Like if they have, maybe they have a tank mate that they don't get along with, or you have some kind of predator fish in your tank that eats other fish. I mean, obviously that's stressful, but they can develop diseases like ick, or
mhm.
there's some other ones that have to do with their scales, and they will like rub up against rocks and decorations and actually like scrape off their scales, which is obviously really bad.
Now, I will say I hate the whole pet store bird thing, but I will admit both my birds came from a pet store. The other one I got from someone who was rehoming, which
Hmm.
is Zelda. So,
I have bought
but
fish from Petco too.
well, I got these from Dee's Pets,
These
which
pets.
she is, huh?
That's just a funny name.
It, well, yeah. Which she was a breeder, but I don't know. Now looking back, it's like I don't know how much proper breeding was done,
I see.
you know?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. If you get a bird, if possible, which you need to do your research on how to take care of and how to get them to adapt to your home, and you need to adapt to them, is to adopt them.
Hmm.
Because birds live a long time, especially if you're getting a bigger bird.
Do you think
I mean,
people do you think people don't realize how long they live, and then
I I think people are like, "Oh, they live a long time," but then it gets to the point where they realize this bird is gonna probably outlive you.
Mhm.
You need to have I mean, that happens a lot, and people need to realize if something were to happen to me, I need to know who this bird's gonna go to, who can properly take care of it, or have where it's set up for it to go to a good home, a good shelter,
Yeah.
and yeah, birds need plenty of time outside their cages. Again, self-mutilation, they need to I mean, as much as humans like to sit on the couch all day, we need to stretch our legs.
Mhm.
They need to stretch their wings. And, not all even though you can have a type of bird that will talk, there's a good chance it might not talk. So don't go getting a bird just to be like, "Oh, it's gonna talk, I'm gonna make funny videos, and I'm gonna get famous," and stop that.
Mm.
These are living creatures. Don't go in trying to breed your birds and stuff just to make money. That's
Yeah.
something else that's really bad, because it's very hard on a female bird's body because it uses up a lot of calcium for them to produce eggs, which then, if they're not getting enough calcium back, they can get egg binding, where an egg is literally just stuck in their cloaca.
Ooh, that just sounds painful.
That means that they can't pass the egg, they can't, in some bad cases, they can't, you know, poop.
Yeah. Poor bird.
Or the eggshell, because of the low calcium, gets so thin that it busts inside them and causes an infection.
There's some crazy fish diseases, dude. There's this
Uh,
one that's literally called hole in the head disease, and it's literally what it sounds like.
Ew.
Yeah. I've never witnessed that, thankfully, but I've heard like
I
stories.
feel like I would puke if I saw that.
I'd probably just put it out of its misery, honestly. Like I can't imagine. It is like painful for them because they basically have like an open wound on their head.
Yeah,
So
that can't feel good.
it's like a zombie fish.
Uh, oh, something with birds though too. You can't have fans on if there is a high chance of your bird escaping its cage, or if you're letting them out, because fans and windows are the biggest killer of pet birds.
They gonna get
You would,
got.
um, I mean, we've seen how often outside birds will fly into windows.
Hmm.
Happens to inside birds too.
It's happened to
And
me too a couple times.
oh, is that what that noise was I heard?
I have ran into some glass doors before.
Now, at pet stores, they'll usually I've seen where this is weird. They like converted to a pottery brunch place, but they still sell fish, but they don't sell any other animals. It's weird, I know.
What?
Yeah, yeah. It it doesn't make sense. It's weird. But because they would sell dogs from puppy mills.
Ooh,
Mhm.
like
Yeah,
for a
that's
quick
how
buck?
they were getting thousands of dollars
Dang.
per dog. But ever since that law passed, come, the end of February, they weren't allowed to sell them anymore.
Which leads me to my next point. Can we just talk about like Walmart and Meijer selling fish?
Let me finish this point real quick.
Okay, go for it.
So this place, and I know other pet stores will do it, especially if it's a bird that's been there for a while. They will have the standard small cage that you'll usually see them in if you don't have a big flock in a huge cage. And they'll have 1 or 2 birds in there, already a bad sign. Shitty food that they sell. Usually the water's not too bad, but they'll be like, "Oh, bird cage and all this." There's might be like one little thing of a toy for them to chew on, which even then you have to be careful of the toys you get for birds. Because sadly, if you don't watch and check your birds' toys, there are birds that have gotten their necks stuck in toys and accidentally
Mm.
hung themselves.
Can you imagine walking in on that?
It's sad, but people aren't checking their toys because there's stuff where they're supposed to be reaching in,
Mm.
shredding, and which those are good toys.
Mhm.
But you have to buy the right type of toy for the right size bird.
Mhm.
So people get this real big toy, but the bird's smaller.
Mhm.
Or they're not checking which cloth toys are not good because it'll get stuck in their crop.
Yeah, I remember you saying that.
hmm I had bought a ring that had cloth and stuff, and I kept it on me so that it would smell like me. But then I noticed my bird was playing with it, and I took that toy away immediately and threw it out
Mm.
because I wasn't going to let that happen to him. Because before he was just, like laying on it, loving
Wasn't
on it.
wasn't
Because,
eating it. Yeah.
yeah, but then he realized, I can bite this.
Mhm.
And I was like, all right, that's the end of that. So there's a lot of research you have to do on the proper toys, which you can
I
even
never
make
knew
your
that.
own toys, but you have to be very careful.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because you just gotta be. And if there's a toy that's mostly good and it's got like 1 or 2 bad parts, if it's possible, you can cut those parts off of it if
Mhm.
it's possible. And there's kits out there and stuff, and you can look up good videos on how to make your own toys for them.
I have a question.
Huh,
So you know those mirrors that they put in bird cages?
yeah,
I've seen ones that are made out of metal. Isn't that dangerous?
it can be. Because, well, let's face it, the bird, depending on how it's positioned, the bird could shit on it, and just that liquid and stuff, it would corrode it.
Yeah, that's what it looked like, just like a piece of sheet metal that was like reflective.
Typically, those just standard plastic ones are usually what I go with.
Okay.
Because all 3 of my birds are separate ages because I didn't realize my 2 parakeets were both female. I knew one was. The other one looked male,
Mhm.
which you can tell by the sear, their little nose. But the way the color changed, it was very hard to tell, which even others have looked and said, "Oh, it's a male." No, I just got me a transgender bird. Bird pride. And something to be careful with bird toys. I had gotten mine where it's like a little hollowed out coconut.
Mhm.
They
I've seen
loved
those.
it. But those can be good. And certain shredding things where it's almost like husk or like little wood bits, or kind of like a grassy material,
Mhm.
but it's not grass. But I'm picturing the toy, but I can't think of the name. But you gotta be careful with that, especially if you have a female,
Anything with
'cause
like little fibers and stuff hanging off of it.
well, that's mainly for cloth, different type of cloth materials. But this is like where it's like cardboard or kind of more wood stuff,
Mhm.
or if you have something which don't get those little cuddle buddy cuddle huts. It's all cloth. They'll
Mm.
chew it. You're
Yeah.
gonna get a dead bird or a high vet bill.
Yikes.
But I had the coconut hut and it worked great for like a year or two. But then my female started brooding. Basically, she started laying eggs in it.
Mhm.
So when she got done going through that process, we were able to take the eggs away.
Mhm.
Uh, then we took the coconut out. Haven't had a problem since. But sometimes they will take certain material and you have to be able to identify what is causing them to be like this.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Or else then you'll get, if not, then you can get, egg bounding and those other problems.
Can I talk
And
about
they,
Walmart?
yeah, because then I can go on to my problem with Petco.
Okay. Did I'm sorry to cut you off. I didn't mean to.
It's good.
Okay, so I've always been against like Walmart selling those little cups with betas in them, and all of their tanks
The
are
land of the
so
tanks of
nasty.
the land of nasty tanks and dead fish.
I can't even tell you like how many dead fish I've seen at Walmart over the years. It's I can't even keep track. Like obviously they don't have people back there checking like their water parameters, like all their, chemical stuff. I don't even know if the fish get fed, honestly. I really wonder sometimes.
Well, of course they get fed. They get fed the other dead fish, apparently.
That's horrible.
You've seen
I
Walmart's fish
know.
tanks.
It breaks
Am
my
I
heart.
wrong?
It breaks my heart. No, you're not wrong, but it's sad.
I
But
didn't say it was sad.
I've signed like every petition possible to get fish, like aquarium fish, banned at Walmart and even Meijer, because Meijer has it too. I don't know if you've ever been there, but it's kind of like Walmart.
Uh, if it's like Walmart, then I've pretty well been there.
They don't have them here in Texas, but they do have them in Illinois. But they have a section that is like all aquarium fish, and there's no one there. I'm like, why are they even selling these if they don't have anybody to take care of them?
'Cause money.
But
Like,
I guess like I'm just very against that. So I will go out of my way to write letters and sign petitions to stop doing that. Don't
I
buy.
don't. Yeah.
Okay, so this is the other thing. I've seen TikToks explicitly talking about like going to Walmart and quote unquote saving the betas and putting them in a bigger tank.
That's just promoting and making Walmart think, ah, yes, this is working.
Exactly. So you might think that you're saving some fish, but what you're actually doing is telling Walmart, hey, I want to buy this. And then they will start putting more out for people to buy. So, unfortunately, the best way to prevent them from selling fish is to boycott them and do not buy them. Because once they're all dead, Walmart can't sell them after they're dead. So
Morbid but true.
it's sad that, it has to be that way, but it's the only way, that they'll stop selling fish is if people aren't buying them, because that's all they care about is money. So don't buy Walmart fish, don't buy any grocery store fish that's like for pet use. Like if it's food, that's different, but live fish, don't buy.
Don't buy fish from the grocery store. Got it.
No tilapia.
No!
I'm kidding. I love tilapia.
I do too. That sounds good.
Okay, let's hear your rant about Petco.
I hate it. I hate it so much. And I hate that I have to go there too.
Yeah. I think the only thing that I really buy from there is my salt water and fish food, but other than that, I don't really go
Well,
there.
see, here's the thing. I also have a rat and a dog.
Oh yeah. You have a
Now, I
zoo.
don't get my. I do. I love my zoo. Now, see, For my dog, I mainly just get like clothes there for her because I can take her in and, put the clothes over and see if they fit her. I ain't dressing her up every day. It's mainly for like holidays or, stuff like that, which she actually likes getting dressed up. And I have a rat, which, fun fact on rats, rats cannot, if I remember correctly, digest alfalfa and it's very bad for them. But most toys made for all rodents have alfalfa, but they put a sugary honey coating to hold the toy together.
Hmm.
So then they can't taste the alfalfa and they eat it. Be kind to your rodents.
See, I feel like they purposefully make stuff that's harmful so that the animal will
Also,
die and then we'll buy more of them.
pretty sure that's part of their plan. Also, fun fact on rodents, real quick. They need a bigger cage than you think. They like to burrow. Do your research, people, or I'll punch you. Petco. They have the big, basically, I'm just going to call it the tank of budgies. Because is it not?
I mean, it is. You're right.
I have seen multiple sick budgies in there. If you want to know how a budgie's sick, look at it. Other ones are staying away from. Birds will hide symptoms. That's why you need to learn as much as you can about your bird and the bird species and get to know your bird. Like if your dog starts acting weird, it's like, oh, Missy's acting kind of funny. We should take her to the vet. But your bird's over there dying and you don't know it.
Hmm.
You gotta learn to catch these things because once a bird starts showing that something's wrong, it could be too late because if a bird shows weakness in the wild, then they will be left behind by the flock, which leaves them for a higher chance of death.
Do you recommend like regular vet visits for birds?
Yes, find a well rated, or if you know people who have birds, someone who has been to said vet, talk around, find out about the vet themselves with other animals, and make sure that they're good. My aviary vet around here, shit, I am trying to find a new one.
Mm.
Because he got mad because my bird wasn't hand trained.
Mm.
Sometimes, sometimes no matter how hard you try, it just won't happen.
Yeah.
And you're taking them to a new environment, they're gonna get scared.
Well, and I'm sure you're very limited on like who you can go to down there.
Sadly.
Yeah.
When I first did my research, we had more options, but I want something as close as possible in case of emergency.
Right.
Which, if your bird ends up breaking a blood feather, do your research and know what to do in case of emergency, but be prepared to have to take them to the vet because that is basically a funnel, and birds can only lose very little blood before it is dangerous.
Mhm.
Petco, they keep the budgie tank. If you see one by itself, if you see one that looks off, but it's not just the cute little, floof of baby, or if it's walking funny and stuff, you know that they're sick. You can tell someone, but chances are they don't care and they just want to sell it,
Mhm.
which is heartbreaking. The food and toys they have, I get my meal seed from D's Pets because they get fresh shipments in of it.
Mhm.
I don't want this stuff because I can even feel a texture difference with it, and my birds don't even like the one from D's. I use Chewy to get treats as often.
Yeah,
Chewy is a great site.
I was gonna mention that too. My cat Travis, I get a lot of cat stuff for him off of there, and I haven't really looked into their like fish food selection, but I like them a lot.
I mean, they send my dog a birthday card every year.
Not a sponsor, but we like Chewy.
Hey, if you want to, Chewy, hit us up.
That'd be funny because it's a furry channel.
I mean, but they have a great selection, but even then, still do your research because they are carrying big brands. And there are some boxes like Squawk Box out there. I've not personally used it, but I've heard it's highly rated.
Hmm.
Um, they now I don't know about other ones, but our Petco has where it's give or take the size of the budgie tank, which I feel like that's usually about the same size at most places, but depending on how if it's just the thing where you can reach your hand in because
Hmm.
all the birds' wings are clipped, or if it's actually taller and enclosed. But this has a divider in the middle, and they'll put a bird on either side, but these are their bigger birds. So it could be a cockatiel to I've seen green cheeks and sun conors. That is way too small of a space to keep them in. But these ones, they tend to ours is at least giving them some fresh food,
I
which I
can't
think there's someone
I
huh?
can't tell you how many pictures of aquariums that I've seen where they overstock their tank. Like they put all these like big fish and then a bunch of smaller ones. Like they fit as many as possible and it's just going to make them die. Like they're going to get stressed out. They can't hide, you know.
Well, this tank here, it's got like where there's a little thing that holds the food and water underneath. It's got like kind of a shield
Mhm.
over it, which isn't good for the way the birds have to eat, depending on the birds they're putting in there. And then it's got where it's like a little perch over the little shield thing so that they're not pooping into their food,
Yeah.
which isn't a bad idea if it weren't sitting on the bottom of the cage.
Mhm.
And then it's got a ladder, and this is like mirrored on either side, and the birds can see each other. And a lot of times, these will be birds from, like the same flock or whatever.
Mhm.
I think it's a clutch. I could be wrong, but they'll become bonded, but then they're sold separately.
Mm. So it'd be better just to have them together.
If they came from the same nest and they get along, put them together,
Mhm.
and if possible, sell them as a bonded pair.
Which you would think
They're not
would
gonna,
make sense, common sense, but
but they won't sell as quickly
no.
because who wants who wants the two pretty sunset-looking birds when that's a lot of money. Let's just get the one and stick it in this small cage.
Hmm.
Because a lot of times people will get one of the cheaper cages that's somewhat of size, the cheapest food. And these birds, they usually don't even have a toy in their cage, or if they do, it's like a little chew block.
Yeah.
But they're doing what they can. I go over and I'll talk to like those birds and stuff, and me and my husband, we usually want to take the birds, but also we don't want to promote it.
Yeah. I know what
If
you mean.
possible, when you get a bird, like you need to do your research, get from where you can, rescue them. And I know it is so hard to try and get from a reputable breeder because that shit can be faked so easily.
Mhm.
Because I was listening to like Illuminati's thing on, puppy mills and how she did her research for her dog.
Mhm. Yeah, I watch
And
her a
even
lot.
then, yeah, like stuff falls between the cracks.
Well, and
And you
people
can't
get lazy, they don't even check, you know.
hmm and there's not as many regulations for birds either. You know, it's
Mhm.
just like cats and dogs, but even then, look at how poorly controlled that is.
Yeah.
So, if something is wrong with your bird, take it to the vet, if possible, confront the person. If there's, depending on where you live, something that you can inform about, do it.
That's another thing I'd like to mention too about fish keeping. They don't really have a fish vet. Like you can't really take your fish to a vet, you know? So like
Yeah, you can't just walk them to the vet.
if they do get a disease, there's only two options. They're either going to die or you have to research how to potentially, fix the issue. I will say in
You
my
have to be the vet.
yeah, basically in my personal experience, I've only had one fish that had ick once, and I did manage to fully recover him from ick. I had to quarantine him in his own smaller tank and dose the water with like a treatment, an ick treatment, for I think about like 3 days or so, sometimes
But
up
see,
to a
that's the
week.
thing. Like
But
what I was saying with having to learn, when to tell if your bird's sick. If you're in a situation like I am without a vet, really,
hmm,
which I know there's people out there who are real big on their pets, and they're like, well, if you can't get a proper vet, you don't need that pet. You have to be the vet. You have to learn what you can and can't do,
hmm,
and you have to be like with your fish.
but even
You
that,
have to
like,
know.
not everybody is successful at like healing fish diseases because some of them are like really complicated,
Mhm.
and unfortunately most of the time they just die or you give them to somebody else who maybe knows how to. But that's kind of what you sign up for though.
Yeah.
Just going into it. Well, we're
Like you have to know what you're getting into when you get these pets.
do your
Again,
research.
your research. Yeah.
We're at our hour mark now. Uh,
Okay.
I think I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up. But this was a very good, deep discussion. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave a comment down below, and we'll see you next time.
Do your research.
Do your research.